hurdle of opening this door that, in my world, you have to pry open. And then after that, you've asked your qualifying questions. Is this going to be a part? Because remember, when you're calling on these numbers, you've got to do a little due diligence too. Where is this park? Does it have a website? Does it have reviews? Where am I looking? You got to find out some things about it, and then when you find out those things, you need to verify it. Hey, I see you're online. You have this many parks, paths, do you have these things, okay? You need to verify those things, qualify. Yes, 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 perfect. Listen, I'm gonna take this information back. I'm gonna go review it with my partner. When we get back on a phone call, when's a good time? Next week, whatever days and time. We're gonna present to you 2 offers. I always present 2 offers. I always present a cash offer, and I always present a creative offer. And my creative offer is always better than my cash offer. When you get an acknowledgement of that sounds good, okay, remember on the first conversation, I still needed to see some documents. You said you would provide me with your P&L, your tax returns, your bank statements. I need to see those first. I'd like to formally present an LOI and come out to see it. You present the offer without really diving deep into your due diligence period. In your due diligence period is when you figure out sometimes whether or not this is going to be worth the purchase price, because you'll find out that you're going to need to replace items. You'll find out, I think I was the conversation, that you'll find out that this is a 50 pad park, but only 15 are permitted. Then this is not a $1 million park anymore. This is not a $1 million park anymore. And so when you find these things out, that starts to change negotiations. So now you're gonna go see it. This is where I prefer to talk to the seller. I don't want the broker to have this conversation. I wanna be with the seller. And the very first thing you're gonna do is you are gonna walk and talk about what is now. Just talk to me, tell me about what's now. Walk the park. We do this over here. We do that over there. We've got this. And as you're walking and you're talking, you're gonna come up with your own questions that you need to find out more about. All of these work, all of these are 50 amp, right? Yeah. And you go and you walk everything. You walk everything. And all you are asking about is what is now. What is now right now? And you better go out with a freaking notepad and a pen and start taking notes. Then you're gonna make your way to the office. And you're gonna sit down in the office and you're gonna talk about what was then. Tell me about what's happened in the past. What happened here? What have you done? Have you bought anything new? Have you improved anything? Anything major happened at the park? A really important thing that Michelle touched on was reaching out to the police department. This is really common in RV spaces, is because in hospitality in general, where you don't know your guests. You literally do not know your guests. You're also not supposed to know your guests in the ways that maybe a landlord-tenant situation could. Background checks, these things like that. So going to the police department is very important. Finding out what has been of the park is important, because what I found out at that RV park, at this freaking brothel, and I almost didn't buy it.
Funniest story.
I almost didn't buy it.
Hilarious to me.
There was a registered sex offender at the park. Registered sex offender. Address, the park. And so now you need to take a step back. I'm under contract now at this point. This is why this is days worth. This is days worth of evaluating, asking questions and more questions as you start to get all of these documents together. You've got to ask all the questions. One thing that's very important is you try to get a longer EMD period so your EMD doesn't go hard within 2 weeks. That's tough. Because now you need to find out some really imperative items before that EMD goes hard. So if you can get something which is not easy to do, but if you can get an EMD period for 30 days, that's gonna be a negotiating point. that's gonna be something that you'll get pushed back on. But if you can explain to them that there's a lot to review here, there's a lot of research that I need to make sure checks out for myself. I'm not gonna be able to do that within 2 weeks, especially if you have missing items. I still need to see this, I still need to see that. I think a great suggestion is not even going under LOI without having those things.
Could you put in your contract, like for every time you request a paper, that if they take more than 2 days or 3 days, you get an auto extension, you don't even have to request it basically because they're dicking around?
And auto cancel or right to cancel.
Because if they're
If
gonna
not
dick
provided,
around constantly, then
yeah.
you don't wanna have to come to your deadline and go, oh, I need an extension.